happy to be here to show everybody some of the things that I do getting started with coding.
Okay, that's
getting
awesome.
started with coding is sometimes can be challenging and can be overwhelming. So one of the things that I try to do is I introduce unplugged coding first, so that I'm building that vocabulary with our students and building that understanding of spatial awareness when I'm working with them. And the more we do activities around the vocabulary around that spatial awareness, the more they get engaged within the activity and they understand it a little bit better, and then I can take that information and scaffold it into an actual robot or actual visual block code where they can actually program using an iPad. So,
and it sounds like a lot of fun, right?
It is
like
a lot
of fun for them. They don't even know what they're learning.
They don't know what they're learning, and the wonderful thing about that is even though I'm focusing a little bit on coding, I'm integrating literacy and I'm integrating math at the same time, and a lot of times it's involving our inquiries and we're tying it in different ways. So it's very transdisciplinary rather than just focusing on coding.
Sounds awesome.
So one of the first things that I do is I talk to them about the positional language that we are going to be introducing and using with our students. Go is one of the ones that we use. We talk about moving forward. We talk about moving backward. We talk about right turns, and we talk about left turns as well as stop. So what I usually do is I create a chart so that they have this language. I know that some of our junior and senior kindergarten students may not be able to identify forward and backward. So what I do is I identify the first letter, forward, starts with the letter F. Right? So then they can pick that out, and then they're also learning, their letters while they're also understanding that coding piece. And then again, I focus on the first letter for backward, first letter for right turn, and left turn. Another thing that I do is I actually create my own cards for the students, so that they know that forward has a little arrow and the word is labeled right underneath, so they could pick out the word or pick out the first letter, which is what I encourage for them. I've also encouraged them to use the color coding of the cards to help them understand turns, because the spatial awareness piece is very challenging for kids who are just starting out with coding. And what I've done is I've color-coded them so that I put stickers on their hand so that they can identify that the right turns is right hand, and I'll have that on their hand while they're walking the grid, and yellow on their left hand. I usually use our learning carpet, okay? And this grid is very overwhelming for kids who are first starting out. So what I will do is I will actually use some tape, and I will start off with a small corner. And we're just focusing on a 3x3 grid, and then we're slowly expanding. So in this case, I'm just gonna, usually with tape, I quickly outline it so that the kids are aware of what I'm doing. And then what we'll do is we will put go, and I'll let them choose where they're going to put go on the carpet. Now usually there's a challenge involved. Like today, we are retelling the story of the gingerbread boy who gets lost at school. So the gingerbread boy is here, but we're going to try to identify all the different places that the gingerbread boy is actually traveled in the school. So he loses his toe and he has to go to the nurse's office. So that might be a station, right? And then he tries to go to the gym, and he meets up with a gym teacher. So those might be some of the targets that we're trying to meet. So I might give the children a little bit of a challenge, and I'll say, well, we need to move the gingerbread man from this spot right over here, and we need to move him to the gym, right? So that's where he's going. So they know that this is go and this is stop, and I leave it up to them to identify what path or what route that they're going to take. So usually the kids will take a card and they'll start right here at the very, very beginning. And I'll lay the cards out for them so that they can have a visual here to help them understand. So here's my gingerbread man, and I'm gonna think that maybe moving forward would be one way I can move him, right? And then I know that he needs to move forward again. And then the trick for turns, when I'm teaching how to do turns, is telling them to look at their hands. Do I need to move right or do I need to move left to get to the gym where the stop is? And then hopefully, they're looking at their hands and then they identify, oh, I need to move right. And they'll put that in there. And the reason why we use 2 cards in the same block is when we're using robotics, and I'm trying to scaffold in because I'm thinking of later on of how we're going to scaffold. So when we're using robotics, the robot actually turns in the same blocks. So when we're driving a robot, we'll go 2 spaces forward, but it will actually turn in this block. So that's what I'm trying to do, so that we're trying to do that. So we scaffold this learning here and transfer it later on, but that's why I do that. I know a lot of people ask. And then I'll ask them, well, is he at the gym yet? Well, no, he's not quite there at the gym yet. He needs to move forward one more time, and then we're at the stop. When we're retelling stories, the kids are actually drawing the events in the story so that they can actually sequence that piece of it. So it's more involvement that way. So it's not just me creating something for them. We'll read the story. They will create the different scenarios that occur in the story, and then they will actually go over.
It's such a rich activity.
Really. We can do it like there's so many different ways that you can do it.
And the way you've set it up now, it's really non-threatening. I could see actually starting this.
Very small again. And then
start
as
small.
we move on, we'll move bigger and bigger, and then eventually the kids are using the entire
what a great little activity that is. Somebody could start that tomorrow, right? Just get the things ready to go.
There's so many stories that you can do a retell with. Another activity that I do with the children in order to build spatial awareness is the children are actually programming themselves, and they're the actual robots. So I'm going to give you a quick demonstration.
Okay.
So what we might do is the children will decide where the go is, and the children will decide where the stop is, right? Maybe the stop is over here. And another child will actually lay down the coding cards to get the student to walk to the appropriate spot on the carpet. Right? And they're laying out the cards the whole time. Again, they're using their hands to help them identify whether they're moving right or left on the grid to get to the stop. And then what I do is I encourage the children to pretend that they're robots. And then what they're thinking is they're talking, I encourage them to say it. So you're starting at go. And you say forward, 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 right turn, forward, 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 stop. So they're actually pretending that they're the robot on the grid. And that really helps them as well. And then to tie in the math piece, afterwards we might sit down with clipboards on the carpet and then we count how many forwards there are.
Awesome.
So that they know that they draw maybe 8 and an arrow up to identify 8 forward. And then right turn and then 3 forward, so that they're actually writing down their path. Grid paper is often really, really good for doing that, because then they'll draw little arrows on the grid paper. So they try to take what they have here and then copy it on a piece of grid paper so that they're mapping as well.
So what might be some of the challenges a teacher would run into, might expect to kind of come across with this type of activity?
So what I recommend is when you're first starting, you're just starting with the forward piece. So you get children to start from go right here, and then get them to stop somewhere in a column. So all they're doing is focusing on going forward, and we're focusing just on using one of the cards.
And one of the kids at a time, right?
One child at a time.
So what would the others be looking, watching?
They're looking, watching, counting. They have a grid so that they can try to copy out what is programmed on the carpet and trying to write the number, how many forwards there are getting to the stop. So that would help them, so that they're busy.
Yeah, they're participating.
They're participating and they're busy, or they're helping count how many forwards that student is.
And then they all get their own turn.
And they all get
So
their own turn.
So let me see if I understand this. So one child will set out the actual path.
Right.
And then
Another
child.
friend is the robot.
That's right.
And then the kids either together will say, help them move forward, move forward, move forward, and then stop. or they'll be writing out the path on the grid, just depending on what the, how they're feeling, or how they want to participate.
So you wouldn't have any behavior issues at this time? They're generally...
Usually, I haven't had any behavior issues at this time, because robots for them is very, very intriguing and interesting. And for whatever reason, because of the movement activities, they really are engaged with it.
What would you do to prepare? Would you just launch into this activity? Would you read about robots? What would you do? You just get right, just start.
Just
start
right
it.
in and just start it.
Not worry about...
I wouldn't worry about it, and I would just to start with just a column, like a path. You're moving forward. Don't introduce
So
turns.
no preparation, no nothing. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do
and
it.
you don't even need fancy cards. Like I just made these on Google, like using Google Docs, right? And printed them off. But all you need is a piece of cardboard paper, cardstock paper with arrows on it, and you get started.
And they're good to go.
And a lot of people are intimidated, and people automatically think that I start with robots right away in September, and it's not actually that way. I actually focus on that language for the first 2 months, and all we do is unplug coding.
2 months. So this is not. This is something that takes place over a long period of time.
For 2 months.
Yeah, and how long would you spend on it in the process?
It doesn't,
10 minutes?
like maybe 10 minutes, and it's really built into our day. Like when we're walking the kids down to the washroom, we're all walking forward, forward. Oh, which way do we turn? Right turn, left turn. Like if I'm moving with kids or walking in the playground, we'll play games out in the playground too, to kind of consolidate that understanding.
So you're building a comfort level as well. Like this is just a normalizing this.
Every day. That's our language. It's built in, and actually, believe it or not, these are the first sight words that I actually teach my students. They're
that's
the
amazing.
very first ones. You know? So that is how it's built
so
in.
you're all, like you said, it's transdisciplinary. There's so much involved here.
There is.
And I'd say teachers are worried about making mistakes. What would you say to that? If I don't do it right, or
I make mistakes all the time. And the really fantastic things is, if you let the kids make mistakes, that's the best part about coding. They're debugging code when they're actually doing that. And if I make a mistake, they're quick to point out that I made a mistake.
Oh, I'm sure they love that.
And they fix it for me, right? And I tell them that you've just debugged the code. You've been a problem solver. You've solved this problem. You've done an amazing job, right? And they're very proud of themselves for being able to do that.
In terms of expanding what you've done here with finding the gingerbread boy in the gym, what might be the next steps for them? What would they do to kind of build up the repertoire?
So what I do is I look for a lot of great books that you send out in the red resource bin, and I look for problems in the story, right? So if I see a problem in the story,
so does it have to be a spatial problem generally?
It doesn't really have to be. It could be, or it could be sequencing. It could be retelling the story. It could be finding a problem in the story, or obstacles that somebody has come across within a story, so that they are maybe avoiding an obstacle, like maybe, I don't know, one of them might be Goldilocks and the Three Bears, code a path from Goldilocks' house to the little bear's house, right?
Oh,
so
my
that
goodness,
they're sending a thank you letter or a sorry letter, apology letter to the little bear for breaking his chair, right? So, you just find ways in literacy that you might be able to do that. There's another great book called Word Collector, and what we do is, with our sight words, we'll get the kids to write out their sight words, and we're pretending that we're word collectors, and we'll draw paths to the different words, and then as the character moves past the words, we'll write them down on our chart paper so that they're collecting words at the same time. So just taking a look at the story and seeing.
I noticed what you did with the pumpkins that way, the little pumpkins, right?
Yes, we did.
That was very interesting. You know what? I see a book in this of activities, because even though you say how easy it is, I think people might still need some guidance.
They
do you know what I mean? Like, not everybody is as creative as you. People might need a book of like 10 possible activities.
I am working on it. Yes, I am actually working on putting something like that together.
That's a great idea.
And just looking again at
just enough of different examples, so that sort of an example for different kinds of problems within a book and then using those to help them do that.
Absolutely, you know, so you're looking at ways where you can integrate that literacy piece
Yes.
and getting children to become problem solvers, and even getting them to think about what is the shortest path
Yes.
to a certain place, or what
Yeah.
is maybe obstacles within a story
Right.
that you want to avoid. You
Yeah.
know, maybe there's a big problem that you want to avoid. Oh, the
Okay.
penguins couldn't go down this hill. Maybe there's a smaller hill that
Right.
the penguins can go down. So
Yeah.
traveling on the grid and going
Oh my
around
goodness.
to
It
obstacles.
sounds to me like such a fun activity to
It
do.
is. It's so much
And I
fun.
mean, you've got phys ed in there, you've got, you know, they're moving, all the
Yes.
things that you want them to be doing.
Yes.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Laura, for showing us this today. And teachers can actually contact you, can they? Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
All right, if they have any questions,
Yes.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.
Thanks, Dolores. Bye.